good evening and welcome to Orient Live. It is do or die for the O's now. Not many games to go and they are all must-wins, and we're bringing all the action live to you here tonight. I'm delighted to be joined in the studio with Joe Widdowson and Jack Simpson. Summed it up there, Jack, but you know, a draw on Saturday, not quite the 3 points we needed. It is still mathematically possible, but we've got to win tonight for that to still be the case, really.
Yeah, 100%. I think take the positives from Saturday. I think it was definitely the performance was better, and I definitely feel like if we can keep them kind of performances, it's going to give us a better chance to win games. I think recently maybe some of the games we've won, we've kind of been a bit lucky, which I think we've deserved. We haven't had many of them, but yeah, I think we all know now, 6 games to go. We've got to win 6, maybe 5, but most likely 6. So yeah.
Anything can happen in football, though, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. I think while there's still, while it's still possible, while there's still a chance, the boys have got to be as optimistic as possible. There's still so much to play for, and every opportunity to make it a special end to the season. So I just think that's got to be the message. Sort of jumped in. Let boys just continue to give it everything until it's decided one way or another, really. And
obviously, just to adjust the elephant in the room, disappointed to not be in the team at the moment, Jack, but it's struggling with an injury from the Blackpool game. Is it still?
Yeah, so the first injury, the Wrexham, still a bit of a problem, and then Blackpool again, just on the landing, damaged my ribs and back, which just kind of haven't really been able to shake it. So yeah, just been a bit of a slog recently, but unfortunately, not quite fit enough.
Well, hopefully get back to fitness nice and soon. We're going to take a look and see the starting lineup that Richie has opted for, but firstly, let's hear from the man himself.
It's not that long since we played Mansfield at home. What can we expect from them at their place?
Yeah, I mean, when we played them at home, funnily enough, they had a load of injuries. I think Nigel's done a really good job. Their expectations probably would have been a little bit higher, because you look at Stockport and Wrexham and the clubs that come up that spend a lot of money. But Mansfield probably don't spend nowhere near as them two clubs have mentioned. But I think for him to not be in a relegation battle is a big positive for them. I think they started off really, really well, which again, what happens? People's expectations start to rise, and you expect more from Nigel and his team. But I think all in all, they can be quite happy with their season. I think they're probably one win away from being saved, which I think they'll get. Hopefully, it won't be on Tuesday night.
You've mentioned the injuries already, but how are we shaping up for?
Not great. Again, influences. We can't get no rhythm in terms of our team selection. So Dan Happel will be done for the season. Just felt something pop at the end of the game. He'll be done for the season. Galbraith will be out because his calf. He's too tight. Beckles is ill still, even though he was on the bench. He might make the bench. Ollie O'Neill's still out. Have I missed one from Saturday? The main ones is Galbraith and obviously Dan Happel. But it's a big. Jack Simpson still won't be back. He's still a problem. But it just kills in terms of our. We've just had 2 clean sheets out of 3, but we're forever changing the back 4, which doesn't help.
The injuries certainly playing a part, but Richie has had full faith, of course, in the starting lineup, warming up there at Mansfield now. But let's take a run through of the starting 11 and see who is fit and free to start this evening's game. Starting in goal is, of course, Josh Keeley. Across the back line, we have Jack Curry at left back and Sean Clare on the opposite side of the defence. He wears the armband tonight. Brandon Cooper partners Romani Edmonds Green at the heart of defence. Jordan Brown and Dylan Markanday and Jamie Donnelly occupy the central areas in midfield, with Azim Abdullah and Randall Williams in the wide areas and Charlie Coleman up top. Well, that is, of course, if Randall Williams doesn't play at fullback. We'll wait and see. There's a couple of predicted lineups, but we'll run through that very shortly. And on the bench is Noah Phillips, Omar Beckles, Don Ball, Jelaine Jasimi, Sonny Perkins, Darren Prattley and Dan Adjei. So an interesting one there. Obviously, trying to guess how Richie's shaping up with this one. You probably know better than I do. There's a number of ways that they could shape up with the players at the disposal there.
Yeah, I think we might see Randell right back. I'm not quite sure how we'll play. I didn't see how we'll run through things. Might be, we'll build up in a 3 and Curry come round sometimes, which we'll do, and push Randell on. You never know, it might be Sean there, but I think from my understanding, I think we'll see Randall there, and he's played full-back for Bolton loads, so I don't really see it being an issue, and he's athletic enough to play in them positions.
Such an important position, especially in Richie's team. So you know about being a marauding fullback in your time as well, Joey. Despite playing maybe a bit of a back, we've seen it with Ethan this season. Jack Curry's fantastic at it as well.
Yeah.
They get involved in the game. They influence and they can be a threat.
Yeah, I think obviously the way Richie likes to set up the team, he wants his team dominating the ball, having lots of possession. So I think as Jack said, I think Randell's got the physicality to get up and down. He's got good energy. Hopefully we can feed him lots of the ball and get him into advanced areas of the pitch where he's comfortable going forwards, taking players on and delivering crosses. So hopefully he'll have to do more attacking than defending today. I think that would be the idea, but it might be Sean Clare playing there. So I think there's options, isn't there? I think one of the good things about this team is players can do a number of roles in different positions. So as we see with Ethan Galbraith often playing right back, but then sometimes going into midfield later on in games, offering that versatility. So I think there's probably a few options there, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Williams starting at right back, and I think he'll do quite well there.
And it's quite an attacking from the outset, really. And I guess we've got to be to take this game to Mansfield and get all 3 points and really put the pressure on them like we did in the reverse fixture a couple of months ago.
Yeah, I think if you watch our best performances this season, we're very front foot, aggressive on the press. We trust our defenders in 1v1 situations. Attacks the best form of defence, I feel like, for us in a lot of ways. And I think for us the key is tonight just to be forward thinking, free flowing, and regardless of what's going to happen at the end of the season, go make a statement at the end of the season of how good we've been and see where it takes us.
Absolutely. And Saturday we saw maybe Richie throw a bit more. He was a bit more blasé with or went a little bit more attacking in the sense of we had 1-4 and 2 8s, and as opposed to the normal kind of 2 holding midfielders. Could you see that again tonight with maybe Jordan Brown just being that one sitting and then the others being freed up to get forward and try and get in and amongst the attacking options? Yeah,
perhaps. I think of the midfielders, Jordan's probably the most natural deep lying player. He prefers to sit and break play up, and he's got obviously good distribution, so a lot of the build up goes through him. And we've seen before, Sean Clare, he's got great energy. He can get into those advanced areas and contribute going forwards in that sense. So I think the slight tweak in formations obviously is maybe just looking for something different. The need to try and win games and get results. So it's something I wouldn't be surprised if we saw again tonight. Yeah.
And it is a big game for Sean Clare as well. Wearing the armband, we've seen some exceptional performances from him in centre midfield. He's got a couple of really nice finishes, a nice couple of goals. It looks like a really good position for him, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think obviously when he came in to start with, he was playing right back, but we could all see with the way we like to play and him coming inside, technically he was very comfortable there, and I know he played there before. And then I think after, it might have been the Reading home away game, the first game we won this season, he played there and played such a key part in that. And I think from then, I think the manager's really seen him as a midfielder, and I think he's put in some big performances for us. Been a bit unlucky with some injuries, which I think probably slowed him down a little bit. But he's recently started to come back into the team and looked really good, and is important to us when he's in there.
And whilst Mansfield are definitely more or less safe by now, that they are a team that not in the greatest run of form, only a couple of wins in the last 10 or so. It could become a bit scrappy, it could become a bit dogged. How important will it be for Jordan and Sean to kind of in those positions dominate that midfield and win the battles and also just kind of control the game?
Yeah, I think obviously midfield is always an important area of the pitch. If you get on top of the midfield more often than not, you kind of get a stronghold on the game and able to dominate and kind of create chances and have that bit of kind of dominance. So it'll be important in there. But as you said, Mansfield, they're in that kind of position where they're not going to go down. Obviously, not nowhere near the playoffs. So they're kind of that that no man's land where they perhaps don't have too much to play for, and maybe the incentive isn't really there for them tonight. So hopefully, obviously we've still got a lot at stake, and we can be the team that's really up for it and catch them maybe a little bit, not as up for it as hopefully what we'll be.
And we've kind of got to hope that we take that into account and really do try and blow them away. If you look at that reverse fixture, it was 3-0 after I think about 20 minutes. They had a lot of injuries back then, and we'll come on to them shortly, but we need to do the same to not only get the result tonight, but to maybe kickstart that run we need for the final run in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was obviously the reverse game at home was a really good good positive performance. There was a big gulf in quality between the two teams that night. It was a comfortable win for Orient. So hopefully we can see the same sort of level of performance tonight. I think, as you said, they got 1 or 2 players back from injury. They got an American guy up front scoring a few goals for them. He's been good since he's come in. So, and they got quite experienced players for the level. Guys that played a lot of games in League One. So I don't think it will be an easy game at all. As we said, I think hopefully with what's at stake for Orient, we can go in with a real positive mindset and take the game to them tonight.
And let's stick on that midfield chat as well for a moment. Then Dylan Markandé, on Saturday we saw him play as an 8. It's a role we haven't seen from him, but he really impressed, didn't he?
Yeah, I think obviously we've seen him in the 10. On Saturday it was more 2 8s, but definitely with him on his side, the licence to roam and get on the ball. He was exciting to watch. I'm not really surprised by with his low centre of gravity. It kind of sometimes suits him being in the middle of the pitch, getting away from players. He's hard to get the ball off, and he's a strong lad. He might be small, but you know what I mean. He's not easy to get off the ball. And I thought not just his offensive stuff. I thought he was very good as well on his second duels and his defensive duty as well. So I'm excited to see him in there again tonight.
We've seen some bits and some highlights from his that display on Saturday. And as Jack's touched upon, he can play out wide and he's tricky and he looks to cause fullback problems, but he keeps hold of the ball so well and he keeps things moving. Alongside Jamie Donnelly, it's a really kind of dynamic and sharp pair in there.
Yeah, I didn't see the game on Saturday, but just from looking at these clips now, he kind of looks like he was really involved. As Jack said, he's got a real good low centre of gravity, difficult to get the ball off, and I think probably coming inside into those central areas, it suits him. Being more involved. Obviously playing off the right, we know he likes to come inside and get in those little pockets and get on the ball, get turned and be creative. So I think possibly 1 or 2 games he's maybe not been involved as much as he would have playing out wide, and perhaps the games have kind of passed him by a little bit, and he's been sort of had moments. We've seen moments from him, but maybe not been involved as much. So yeah, it looks like that midfield role as an advanced midfielder kind of suits him. So yeah, hopefully we can see more of that today from him.
Hopefully so. And just before we move on, obviously Dan Adjei on the bench. You always like to see him on the team sheet. Opposition defenders don't, obviously, but Azim obviously coming in there, big boots to fill. Charlie Kelman as well. Both of them though, they've got that ability to score goals as we've seen this season.
Azim did the number 9 role on Saturday, gave Chaz a rest, and I don't think he was as involved in the game as much as he would have liked to have been, but he was brilliant for us in terms of the press. He made it really hard for them to play good long balls. He battled for every duel, and I thought probably wouldn't go as noticed maybe for the fans, but us in the change room, we knew what he did for us, and he brings that energy. He's powerful, so he'll be maybe out wide tonight. I feel maybe suits him a little bit more sometimes when he can get 1v1 at players and on the ball a bit more. So no, I think he can definitely take the opportunity. And Adjei's been brilliant since he's come back, but I think you also have to don't want to lose him again, do we? So maybe it's just a case of resting him, but I'm sure them two will take the opportunity tonight.
Absolutely. Well, some goals would be good because, of course, goals win games. And Dylan Markandé, as we've highlighted already, will be hoping to have a positive influence. And we caught up with him early this week to get his thoughts ahead of tonight's game. So let's hear them now.
I think obviously we're more disappointed about drawing the other day. We felt like it was sort of 2 points dropped with the way we dominated. We just couldn't really get over the line, but I think there were lots of positives to take, especially after the sort of game midweek where we didn't have our best performance. So yeah, I thought the performance was good. We just need to convert the chances. Playing obviously in a central role allowed me to get on the ball more in the pockets. So yeah, I think I did that quite well, especially in the first half. I think they didn't really know what to do when I was pulling out, but the boys played with freedom. Pressing was really good, the intensity, the way we moved the ball, and yeah, I think just that aggression in the last action and in the penalty area is just the thing that we need to top off, and I'm sure that will happen in the next game. So yeah, we just need to keep on doing the basics, keeping the habits there, and if we keep doing that, then I'm sure that we'll be able to break teams down and create more clear-cut opportunities. I enjoyed getting on the ball and sort of trying to drive forward, and yeah, hopefully I can keep doing that and hopefully convert it into some goals and assists. I don't think we need to overthink it and start going in thinking we need to win this to give us a chance. We just need to go in and stick to our habits and the way that we move the ball and, you know, our patterns of play, which the gaffers installed in us so well. So we just need to do that, and then as a process of all of that, then the results will come. So we just need to go and tomorrow play the way that we play, and then the result will come. And we just need to do that for the next 6 games, and, you know, hopefully that will put us in a good position.
Top stuff there from Dylan. And obviously, you know, player interviews, that the camps from the outside always seems like a positive place still, but it's the wins that are going to really kind of kickstart and maybe get us back on another run, isn't it? And that starts tonight.
Yeah, 100%. I think obviously for us in the change room, we have to believe that we're going to do it. You know, if we come on and say, you know, it's done, or we don't believe, you know, it's not the best things to be saying to the fans, even if internally, you know, you're not quite sure whether we're going to do it or not. But there's definitely a belief within the camp that we can still do it. You know, we know we're good enough. We've proven that many times this season. We can beat anyone on our day. I think it's just for us, someone maybe just needs to take it by the scruff of the neck. We just need that moment. I think even maybe the couple of games we've won, we kind of scraped through. I think tonight it'd be good to get a win, but not just get a win, kind of stamp our authority on the game and be like we're going to come for these last 6 games, whatever happens.
It certainly feels like it's been coming a little bit as well, doesn't it? There's even in those couple of wins against Blackpool and Stevenage, maybe there was a bit tighter than usual. I've got a good feeling about tonight.
Yeah, I think, you know, obviously after the run, the bad run of sort of those 5 games, I think the performances have really picked up again. You can see the bit more belief back in the squad, and you know, the boys have been doing well. Obviously, you know, as Richie said, he's had to chop and change a little bit with injuries and stuff, but you know, generally the performance level has been quite good. And I think, you know, as Jack said there, it's just about trying to be positive and keep that belief. And you know, like sometimes, you know, you might have those doubts creep in, but yeah, I just think, you know, today, as we said last Tuesday, you know, it's a big game, and you know, this time of the season, it's not really about performance level. It's just trying to pick up points, and yeah, you know, hopefully we can do that tonight.
Absolutely. Well, we'll take a look at the home side in the shape of Clough's Mansfield Town very shortly. But first, just a quick reminder, of course, that if you're watching along live on our YouTube stream, then international fans, you can pick up a streaming pass to watch along with us here. Or if you're from in the UK and you want to listen along, you can pick up an audio pass to listen along with Dave Victor and Matt Hiscock. Just head over to the Orient website and over to the Match Centre for that one. Coverage starts in just over 10 minutes time. So don't hang about, go and get your pass and make sure you get in on all the action. But now let's take a look and see how the Stags line up for this evening's fixture against the O's. And Nigel Clough, his team in goal. He has his number 1, it's Christy Pinn. We have the number 9 at centre-back is Jordan Bowery. We have Adedeji Oshajala and Bailey Cargill, all of the 3 at the back. In the wing-back positions are Elliot Hewitt alongside Stephen McLaughlin, and the 3 midfielders Aaron Lewis, Keno Bacchus and the captain Louis Reid. And the 2 up top is Lucas Akins and Dom Dwyer. And on the bench for Mansfield Town is Scott Flinders, Aidan Flint, Alfie Kilgore, Hiram Boateng, George Maris, Jordan Rhodes and Caelan Vickers. So we've touched on them a little bit, but they're not probably in the place in the table where they would have expected to be after the 10 games. So they had a really bright start, but a side that have been really affected by injuries, and they may be on the up more than they were when we last played them.
Yeah, this league's quite funny in terms of, I think positions sometimes don't always tell exactly how a team's doing. Feels like teams seem to go on runs in this league for 5-10 games and put up points and then drop off. You know, we were lucky to sustain that for a good amount of time. You know, look at Charlton this last half of the season. You know, they've gone on quite a big run and not come out of nowhere, but really picked up a lot of points. And you know, this will be a difficult game tonight. Every away game in this league is tough. So for us, I think it's just like we said already, just kind of like putting our foot to the gas really and just attacking it and then just see what happens.
From their perspective, they've got a 34-year-old American who's joined them, Dom Dwyer. 4 games, 4 appearances, 2 goals. Maybe added a little spark to them up top, one that they needed.
Yeah, I think, you know, from what I hear about him, he's quite experienced. You know, he's played most of his career over in America in the MLS. And yeah, you know, he's obviously come in, given them a lift, scored a couple of goals. And I think, you know, if you look throughout their squad, they have got some pretty, you know, established players who have had, you know, kind of steady careers in the Football League. So Yeah, they're a good side with good individuals who on their day can cause problems. So I think it'll be a difficult game.
If we take a look at some of their recent goals as well, then Jack, you've already touched on it, but every team in this side or in this league, you've got to be alert to. But some of the goals here, what do you expect this Mansfield Town side? What kind of questions do you think they'll be asking?
There will be physical. Obviously, from the first goal, you've already seen there. Crossing to the box, second phase, finish, high pressing, like kind of what you expect really, coming after you, putting the ball on you, making you defend balls out wide, waiting for mistakes from you to give them easy chances and goals. And what's this, 3 crosses now, 3 goals, all a little bit scrappy. So you've got to defend the box well, make sure you clear the ball high and wide, get it out of them dangerous areas. Great ball there. But as we've seen, I think almost all the goals bar the presses have been crosses, so I think we can see what to expect tonight, really, what we're going to have to deal with. Which I think generally, I know set pieces were a little bit of a problem, but open play crosses I think has been a strength of ours this season, so I have no doubt that the back four and the midfielders who do a great job of covering them dangerous little pockets sometimes will be able to deal with that.
We've obviously already touched on our defensive woes, injury-wise. It's a big night. Then looking at, as Jack's touched upon, so many of those chances and goals coming from wide positions, pounce on mistakes. So it's a big night for our back four.
Yeah, I think as we saw there, they like to get balls in the box. That's obviously one of their strengths. So, I think Lucas Aikens up front, strong, powerful boy. So they got threats going forward, and I think every sort of away game you're going to have to ride out those moments where you're put under pressure by the opposition. They will have spells in the game where they'll probably be bombarding our box, getting crosses in from different areas. So I'm sure we'll have to stand up and be strong, as Jack said, defend the box well, clear, and do the ugly side of football that isn't necessarily the most glamorous, but needs to be done, particularly away from home. Absolutely,
and you touched on it already. But we've spoken about the experience they've got in that side. The back three: Bailey Cargill, a good player for this level. Jordan Bowery was a striker here once upon a time. He was a striker at Mansfield. But there's a lot of experience in that back line. It's a big and it's a tough back three or a back five even at times to try and break down.
Yeah, I came through with Bailey at Bournemouth. He was a couple of years older than me and obviously played similar positions, so did actually quite a lot of work with him. He's not the biggest lad. He's probably only about 6 foot, which for a defender nowadays wouldn't say he's the biggest, but he's always been very powerful, strong. He's actually very good on the ball, very comfortable. Bower, we know how big he is. Used to be a striker, so I'm sure he'll be a threat when balls are put into from set pieces. And like you said, experience, know sometimes how to get through ugly games, which maybe I feel like tonight they would rather it be an ugly, hard-fought game than a footballing game, which it was at this place. And we've seen what happened last time when we played that way.
Absolutely. From a Mansfield perspective, then, how do you think they'll be looking at Orient tonight? We've already said they haven't got too much to play for, but every professional footballer, when they step out, will be playing for that pride. No one wants to lose, do they? Where do you think they'll be looking to try and hurt us tonight?
I think I think the previous game when we played the Mill will still be quite fresh in their memory. So I imagine that they might be happy for Orient to have a lot of the ball tonight and think we'll try and sort of hurt them from set pieces, maybe on the break, which a lot of teams seem to do against Orient. Try and break fast, obviously put crosses in the box, test our back four. They're probably aware that it's slightly makeshift tonight with different personnel playing there, perhaps especially with Randall Williams and obviously Jack, not the tallest fullbacks. They might try and be looking to their strikers sort of peel onto the fullbacks onto the far post. So yeah.
Respectfully to Mansfield, it looks like a fairly empty stadium. We've already said how their players maybe not got too much to play for. From an Orient perspective, at this stage of the season, how hard is it to maybe not get sucked into that and to make sure that levels are high and the intensity is high?
Yeah, I completely understand why the Mansfield Towns maybe is not as packed out as you'd like it to be. And to be honest, as a player, personally for myself, I'd rather it be packed out and there in an atmosphere, gives you that little bit of adrenaline, a little bit of a buzz. But, we know what our job is. We know what we're trying to achieve. Can't listen to anything else. We'll get distracted by anything else. Just go out there, do our job. If they want to go through the motions, which I'm sure they don't, but sometimes in these games with the fans, it can, make you feel like that. It can feel a bit down, and the fans can get on top of you quite quickly. Maybe try to use that to our advantage tonight and dominate this game.
And we know Richie, of course, would be allowing no room for complacency
No,
or anyone to get sucked
yeah.
into that.
No, definitely not.
Joey, how are you feeling ahead of this one? What way are you expecting this one to go?
I think we'll win, I think I'm going to go 3-1, I reckon. Couple of early goals. Mansfield will pull one back and then we'll get one in the second half, 3-1.
Get that on your bet slips if you're watching on live at home. That's Joey's tip for the night. It's, I don't want to ask too much of a difficult question, Jack, but it does feel like do or die. Now, how do you think those lads in there in the tunnel are feeling?
There'll be some nerves. Obviously, there generally always is before games. I think there's been a little bit of, since Saturday, I think there's been a little bit of calmness in terms of we know what we've got to do. We've always known what we've got to do, but we know really what we have to do now. There's no way around it. We've got to win 6 games. Just take each game as it comes. Don't think about anything else. And then we'll see where we are in the season. Maybe the pressure's off a little bit because we're not expected to be in there now. So let's go prove people wrong.
Well, Sean Clare leads the O's out onto the pitch up in Mansfield. So let's hand over now to our match coverage team with Dave Victor and Matt Hiscock.
Good evening and welcome to Mansfield, where both sides make 4 changes. Leyton Orient's injury problems continue. Galbraith, Dan Happy, as well as, of course, Tom James unavailable for this one. And it is Jayasimi who drops down to the substitutes bench. So Jordan Brown, Jamie Donnelly, Edmonds Green come into the team, as does leading marksman Charlie Kelman. The 4 changes that Nigel Clough has made, I think, are all choices. It's interesting that in his preview, Matt, the Stags boss was saying that the victory that Leyton Orient achieved against his side back in January was the best performance that he has seen so far. That was followed up, of course.